Now, live and in studio on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS, your real estate and financial experts, making sure you win in every market. Your financial partners, Don and Gino.
Welcome back to our favorite part of the week, our 2 hours every Thursday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. sharing with you what you need to know, want to know, and have to know, and should share with your friends. Make sure you do. So tell them to tune in to donandgino.com. Go to donandgino.com. You can click on the listen and chat live. That's right. You can watch, listen, and chat because we know you're ADD just like us. So we're giving you all kinds of options to make sure that you're paying attention. You can see who our guest is. A strapping, handsome man, John Vance, with John Vance Wealth Group, here today sharing with us just some great information and, I mean, loads and loads of information that you need to know because the difference is what you hear on TV a lot of times could be selling you something, could have political spins on it. We don't do that. As you know, for 2 years now, we have posted and talked about stuff that is just relevant to you right here in Santa Clarita. And John is a Valencia resident.
Correct.
With your family,
Yes.
So you're one of us, huh?
Exactly. I've been here now for, I believe, 11 years, and it's a great community. My oldest daughter just turned 10, and I can't believe how fast time flies.
Yeah, so meaning you moved here when she's just a baby, or right before?
Right before.
Wow.
Yeah. I made the same move, just so you know, with my family. We made the exact same move. I think Sophia was about 1 year old. And yeah, she's going to be 7 this week. So let's see, I still have one more to throw a shout out next week.
Well, very cool. Speaking of the community, I have to, before I forget, I have to thank everyone that helped us with our annual event that Gino and I are very close to, and Cherry Creek is close to, as well as a lot of our sponsors, and that's the Michael Hoffman Foundation for Children's Cancer. It is a local foundation now. It's been out here almost 15 years helping out families that unfortunately have to deal with childhood cancer. And you were just talking about, you both raising your families here, and I can't think of anything worse than my child having to deal with cancer. And it's amazing the Michael Hoffman Foundation does a great job of supporting the local families. I see it, I witness it, and it's an amazing thing to help out over 280 families. Believe it or not, just in Santa Clarita Valley and Out Valley, we had our annual Texas Hold'em Poker Tournament out at Diamond Gyms this last weekend, and as the chair, I was a little nervous. John, guess how many people we had signed up prior to the event?
Early
I
registration.
don't know, man.
Try 4.
Oh wow. Okay. you gotta get on that.
No. It was funny. It's just poker players are funny people. They just think, well, I'm just going to be there. It's a unique group of individuals. We've been very successful with this event year in, year out.
Don, it was so bad I deleted you from Facebook.
Well, because I was posting like a machine, going, please show up, please support this great cause, and because nobody was signed up ahead of time, I'm like, well, maybe it'll be like every year, and every year it's kind of like this, John. It's hilarious, and I prayed over and over and over that we at least get 80 players, and our goal was to hopefully raise $12,000 to $15,000 because it's really important to these families at this time of the year and to the foundation. And luckily we hit 80 participants, believe it or not. So 76 that decided to just show up out of the blue.
But thank you anyway.
Yes, and we raised over $20,000 in the day because those who showed up dug deep. And we want to thank everybody that helped. The Steve Corman Newhall Escrow, InStyle Hair Salon, Neil Weichel with Remax, Santa Clarita Valley Soccer Center, the Nikolai family donated huge, Bob Barnes, Background Images. It was amazing. So I just wanted to thank you because it was important to us. It's important to our community. And that's why we have people like John in. He's part of our community. He's accountable to our community. He's accountable to you. And thank you for joining us again.
It's my pleasure.
So, okay, enough of that.
Let's get into the numbers, Don.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot, John, and now we have an expert in the house to kind of support our concerns, or, we always hear history repeats itself, and it makes people make decisions sometimes based on that, or could just create fear. But we want to get your idea of this triple top we've talked about, where the S&P and the stock markets hit a certain range, meaning all-time highs, and then they potentially can have a huge correction. And we had, 2000, am I right? 2000, 2007, and now 2013, we're hitting all-time highs. Tell us, in your opinion, what you think that means today, because we've been warning people to just talk to an expert. Not saying to dive out, not to run away, just to talk to an expert, because there might be ways to allocate your money correctly to protect you. Am I right?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. It's a really difficult one to answer because at the end of the day, we don't have a crystal ball in kind of determining where the market's going to head. Back in 2000, we were dealing with a very different environment. We were coming off of a really strong economy. The late 90s were really strong for real estate, really strong for most sectors, and the markets got really expensive and created the technology bubble that we all remember. So at that time, we can look back now in hindsight and really establish that that was really expensive. That was dangerously expensive, and we needed to be out of the way. And unfortunately, most people felt the pain, and then they kind of rode through that and came back. And then in 2007, with the mortgage crisis that we hit, they got hit with it again. And so, in hindsight and looking back, because we're all a lot smarter when we use hindsight as our guide. In 2007,
my wife keeps hoping so.
The market was expensive because of all the impact of the excess borrowing that was basically allowing people to get access to capital even if they weren't qualified. And so now we're coming into 2013. The market's just hit all-time high. The Dow did, and the S&P just did that a few days ago. And one of the things with where the markets are heading from now, I kind of have been communicating with clients that the market's not cheap for sure. I don't know yet if I can decide it's expensive. And so one of the things is...
Like 2000 and 2007.
Like 2000, 2007, because at those times, the markets were really expensive. The companies on the S&P 500 were not earning enough to support the market. Right now, they're earning a lot, and some of that is because the Federal Reserve is accommodating. They're keeping rates at extremely low levels. Plus the rest of the
cheap money for them.
Money.
Right.
And the other thing is, if you think about it, the top companies in America, they're benefiting from the rest of the world growing. So while the U.S. economy has been pretty stagnant the last few years, the rest of the world is growing just in the sense of demographics and population changes. And that's now, the Johnson & Johnson and all these big companies, they're benefiting from a bigger pool of buyers. And so it's a weird dynamic where the U.S. economy is kind of muddling along. But corporate America is healthy because they have a really strong base, and everyone in the world wants our stuff. They want our products. And so it's a little tough to answer that, but I do think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves now. The healthy part of the market is to have a correction, meaning 5-10%, that's normal. If you look at just charts, every 6 to 9 months we'll have a pullback, and we haven't had one in a while. So I think it's time for a bit of a pause.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And the thing that I was thinking, first of all, that was really interesting. I'm thinking, blue chips again? I mean, I haven't thought, that's a 20-year-old strategy. But,
that's right.
But realistically thinking about it, what you just mentioned is 100% spot on. You've got developing countries like India or Brazil or all these other countries that would have never bought diapers from us or whatever else, toothpaste and all these other things. And now they can actually, reach a larger market because shipping is easier. Not only shipping, but the way things get purchased online and all of that. I mean, just the Amazon revolution has changed everything.
That's right. And
right? Don knows that, right? I get like 72 Amazon boxes around every day.
Yeah, you don't even go to the stores anymore. You just order everything online.
That's the way to go. It's a lot more efficient.
I'm saving gas.
That's right.
Yeah, you're an online junkie. There's no doubt about it. But then again, I go to Gino and go, hey, can you get me this? So, no, that's good. That's good information. I'd love to touch on that because we're learning to go a little deeper because you mentioned, and we've brought it up too, that it's sometimes good to have a correction, and we need to explain why. Because, somebody who has money in their stocks are going, wait, I don't want them going down at all. But and from what we've learned and we've seen from the past, if there isn't a correction, what happens?
Well, the markets get too frothy. So when there's no correction in place, then the markets are just kind of riding the bull, and then a lot more risk starts to appear. So we need these up and down cycles to clear out some of the inventory, clear out some of the excesses, and get the market positioned to go higher. The question is, can we go higher? And a lot of that, in my opinion, is resting on the shoulders of the federal government on the Federal Reserve side, and then also the White House. There's a lot of big decisions that are being made, and it's unknown to most of us of what action we're going to take.
Well, it's funny that you can look in hindsight and go, why in 2000 didn't they figure it out? Why in 2007 didn't they figure it out? And both years were, in a matter of speaking, bubble years. We had the tech bubble, basically, where it was something we never had tech go off like that, go crazy like that. We didn't know when it could stop. Housing market kind of did the same thing, even though those of us that Gino and I knew it was about ready to burst at any time because there's no way that it can continue at that pace, like you said, without a correction. We weren't having correction. They were just going crazy for it. Right now, though, I don't really see a bubble. We think it's just the bubble could be just, like you said, very astutely, that it could be all about the government. The government is basically keeping money so cheap, it's stimulating our economy, but if that stops at any point, then we could have larger corrections, am I right?
Well, and that's right. The other thing you have to remember, and this is, I don't even know where this gets classified, is, we're borrowing $1.5 trillion roughly. I mean, when you think about it, $1.5 trillion, we're borrowing every year to just keep the economy afloat. And that money is being spent. That's helping people make their mortgage payments. That money is helping people with, they're getting unemployment claims. They're receiving benefits from the government, and that money is being spent in all of our great American businesses. And so if that starts to get sucked out of the economy, if the government really decides we're going to balance our budget and that money is no longer there, what's the impact? What's the impact on our big companies? Because that's now revenue and sales that they don't have anymore.
Yeah, I actually think I am somewhat fearful of that, because what's happened now is we're dependent on government policy to make sure that we ease our way out of the stimulus that we've received, and we do eventually need to have some sort of balanced budget. We can't continue to borrow at these levels. We've been lucky enough that foreign governments have been so bad that they need to continue to feed us in order to keep their monetary policy in place, such as what Japan's doing right now. And so I really feel that we're in a small, I don't even know if we call this the QE bubble or the, what else do we call it, the government bubble, the stimulus bubble. There's all kinds of things that with 2020 hindsight we might look back on this one and say that's what it is. But I feel, and Don and I have kind of disagreed on this, if it's managed correctly, we can wean ourselves off of this situation as the general economy grows and slowly pull back government spending. I know it's hard, and I know that it's a challenging feat for our government. Can we pull it off?
Well, we know they're really good at kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
They've
We talk about that a
that.
lot in our show. If you go back to 100 shows, we've talked about the kick in the can. We actually need that sound effect, Peter.
Well, so the problem with right now is, are we going to have any political leaders that are going to really step up and have a longer-term view? You shouldn't view your finances in a 1 to 2 year budget. We should be looking out as individuals 10, 15, 20 years and see how the decisions we make today are going to impact us. And the problem is our government is not doing that for us. And so how they're going to unwind and kind of get us back on the right track, we don't know. And it's a little frightening. But individuals, we can take control of our own finances, and that's really what we help our clients with, is making those decisions for themselves, because they can't rely on the government to pull them out of this.
Well, that's why we have John Vance with Vance Wealth Group with us today. Do not turn that dial. Do not get up. Well, who has dials these days, huh?
Nobody does. I kept telling you. I mean, it barely pushed the button.
All right, we'll be right back to the Don and Gino Show. You don't want to miss more great information with John Vance.